Do you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share with us? Send us an email with your story for a chance of it being featured on Weird World. On a cold winter's night in December 1957, the quiet coastal town of Old Saybrook, Connecticut, became the stage for one of the most compelling close encounters in UFO history. This is the story of Mary M. Starr, a former teacher with a master's degree from Yale University, whose life was forever changed by an extraordinary visit from beings not of this world. Mary Starr's encounter occurred on December 15, 1957. Old Saybrook, a picturesque town nestled along the shores of Long Island Sound, was mostly deserted for the winter season. Mary Starr's home stood solitary in a neighbourhood of empty cottages. Little did she know that on this night her isolated location would make her the sole witness to an event that would challenge our understanding of the universe. Mary Starr was a respected member of the community, known for her intelligence and rational thinking. Her academic background and reputation lent credibility to the incredible account she would later share with investigators from the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, or NICAP. As the clock struck 10 p.m. that night, Mary retired to bed, expecting nothing more than a peaceful night's sleep. The quiet of the Connecticut coastline enveloped her home, broken only by the distant sound of waves lapping at the shore. However, sometime between 2 and 3 a.m, Mary was abruptly awoken by an unusual brightness filling her bedroom. Initially disoriented, she thought perhaps a plane was making an emergency landing in her backyard. But as her eyes adjusted to the light, the true nature of the source became apparent, and it was far from ordinary. There, hovering just above her clothesline, no more than 10 feet from the north side of her house, was an object that defied explanation. Mary would later describe it as a cigar-shaped craft, approximately 20 to 30 feet in length and dark grey or black in colour. The object was suspended about 5 feet above the ground, perfectly still, as if gravity had no hold over it. What caught Mary's attention immediately were the craft's square portholes, brightly lit, casting a strange glow across her backyard. The object had no wings, fins, or other visible means of propulsion. It simply hung there, silent and motionless, between her house and the tool shed. But it wasn't just the craft itself that captured Mary's attention. Through those illuminated windows, she witnessed something that would embed itself into her memory forever. Inside the craft, Mary observed 2 figures moving about. These beings passed each other, walking in opposite directions, their movements deliberate and purposeful. As Mary strained to make out more details, she noticed something peculiar about these entities. Their right arms were raised, but curiously she could not see their hands. They wore jackets that flared out at the base, unlike any earthly fashion. But it was their heads that truly set them apart from anything Mary had ever seen before. The beings' heads were square or rectangular in shape, a vivid red-orange colour that seemed to glow from within. Even more striking was a brighter red bulb at the centre of each head. Mary considered the possibility that these might be some form of helmet, but she couldn't be certain. Due to her viewing angle and the limitations of the porthole windows, Mary couldn't see the lower portions of these beings. She saw no evidence of chairs, control panels, or any other interior structures within the craft. The beings seemed to move freely in the confined space, their purpose unclear, but their presence undeniable. As Mary leaned forward, desperate to glean more details of the extraordinary scene, something changed. a third being came into view from the left side of the craft. This new arrival spurred Mary to strain even further, hoping to catch a clearer glimpse of its face. But at that moment, as if reacting to her increased scrutiny, the portholes began to fade from view. The entire shell of the object started to glow with a scintillating brilliance that lit up the night around it. From the end of the craft closest to Mary, a curious appendage emerged, a 6-inch antenna that oscillated and sparkled. For 5 long minutes, Mary watched in awe as the craft continued to glow steadily, the antenna seeming to pulse with energy. She would later speculate that it might have been some form of signalling device, perhaps seeking directions or communicating with a distant source. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the antenna retracted into the body of the craft. The object began to move, retracing its path and gliding smoothly in the direction from which it had arrived. Mary expected it to circle around her tool shed to make its departure, but the craft surprised her once again. Instead of following a curved path, the object made an impossibly sharp right-angled turn. Its shape seemed to shift as it moved, now appearing more oval than cigar-shaped. The hull had transformed from its original dark colour to a dull greyish blue, and small circular lights now outlined its entire rim. Mary watched in fascination as the craft navigated the contours of her property with uncanny precision. It dipped and undulated, following the subtle changes in elevation of a small depression north of her house. They had a good navigator, Mary would later remark, impressed by the craft's ability to avoid obstacles, like her prized blue spruce tree. As the object reached the marshy area beyond Mary's garden, it suddenly tilted at a steep angle. In a burst of speed that rivaled a jet aircraft taking off, the craft shot upwards into the night sky. Despite its incredible acceleration, the object made no sound, a detail that will puzzle Mary and future investigators alike, but would become more commonplace amongst UFO reports. The entire encounter, from the moment Mary was awakened by the light to the craft's dramatic departure, lasted only about 15 minutes. But in that brief window of time, Mary Starr's understanding of the universe had been irrevocably altered. In the days and weeks that followed, Mary kept her experience to herself. It wasn't until September 1958, nearly 9 months after the encounter, that she finally decided to make a report to NICAP. Her decision to come forward was not made lightly. As a respected member of the community with a strong academic background, Mary understood the potential ridicule and scepticism she might face. When investigators from NICAP interviewed Mary, they were struck by her clear, detailed recollection of events and her matter-of-fact delivery. She spoke without embellishment, simply recounting what she had witnessed that December night. The investigators, among them Miss Davis and Mr. Hall, could find no reason to dismiss her account. Mary had no history of fabrication, no apparent desire for attention, and nothing to gain by inventing such a fantastical story. As news of Mary's encounter spread, it became clear that she wasn't the only one in the area to have witnessed strange phenomena in the skies. Just 3 weeks before her experience, the local paper had reported a sighting by a hotel caretaker. This witness claimed to have seen about 40 oblong reddish objects, brighter than stars, scattered across the sky. One object appeared larger than the others, and the entire group moved from north to south before disappearing into a cloud bank after about 5 minutes. These corroborating reports lent additional credence to Mary's account, suggesting that something truly unusual had been occurring in the skies over Old Saybrook and Long Island Sound. As investigators delved deeper into Mary's story, they were particularly intrigued by her observations about the size of the craft's occupants. Given the dimensions of the object and its position relative to known landmarks in Mary's yard, she estimated that the beings could not have been more than 3.5 to 4 feet tall. This detail added another layer of strangeness to an already extraordinary encounter. The Mary Starr case, as it came to be known, quickly became one of the most famous close encounters in Connecticut's history. It was classified as a CE3 event, a close encounter of the third kind, involving the observation of animated beings associated with a UFO. Mary Starr's encounter stands out in UFO history for several reasons: the credibility of the witness, the detailed nature of her observations, and the multiple unusual aspects of the craft and its occupants all contribute to make this a compelling case. Moreover, certain elements of Mary's description, the square windows, the sparkling antenna, bore striking similarities to other reported UFO encounters around the world. For instance, the landing at Marignane Airport in France on October 27, 1952, described in Aimé Michel's book The Truth About Flying Saucers, shared some notable parallels with Mary's experience. As the years passed, Mary Starr's encounter continued to fascinate UFO researchers and the public alike. Her story became a touchstone in discussions about extraterrestrial visitations, challenging our perceptions of reality and our place in the universe. The events of that December night in 1957 continue to fuel researchers' curiosity, suggesting there may be more to our world and beyond that we can readily explain. Mary Starr's encounter in Old Saybrook remains one of the most intriguing and well-documented close encounters in UFO history, serving as one of the many confirmations of the enduring mystery surrounding unidentified flying objects and the possibility of extraterrestrial life. As we continue to explore the vast expanse of space and seek answers to the fundamental questions of our existence, stories like Mary Starr's remind us to keep an open mind. For in the quiet corners of our world, on nights when most are asleep, extraordinary events may unfold that challenge everything we think we know about the universe and our place within it.